Hey, this is Mark Henry back again to talk to you more about the occult and paranormal. Well, today I'm going to talk about an introduction to money magic. Now, we're talking about money magic. We're talking about broad term for any type of magical practice that increases your finances, abundance, and prosperity. Now, when we're talking about money magic, there are subheadings of money magic. So you might, for example, be more interested in something like gambling magic, where you're going to be using your magic to win the lottery or to specifically win at casino games to increase your money and profit. Other types of subheadings for money magic might be selling magic. So let's say that you were a seller on Amazon or eBay, and you wanted to kind of increase your sales, doing the magic after you're listing your products, and kind of go in that direction. There's also buying magic. So if you're the type of person who likes to save money, buying magic would be more like trying to use magic to come across the opportunities to save money, kind of be in the right place at the right time. Because that's what it is. If we're talking about money magic, we're talking about, they say there's a saying that it's not how much money you make, it's how much you keep. So there are plenty of people who are making money, but they're spending so much money that if you look at their bank account, they have very little saved. So this is all really dependent on what is your goal as far as your money magic's concerned. So as far as money magic is concerned, why do we do it? Well, one is that it's a kind of just a principle of economics that prices are constantly rising. Inflation causes prices to rise, but even when they calculate inflation, they're only calculating, a handful of different factors and industries. So when they say that inflation is, around 3% or so on average. It's actually more than that if you want to consider all the different things that are not factoring into the inflation rate. So, essentially that if you're making the same amount of money each year for let's say years in a row, you're actually losing purchasing power because the value of the money you have is going down. It's lessening. So in a way, you have to try to make, let's say, 5-6% more a year in order just to kind of keep up with everything. And now that's provided that you're somebody who has your own house and you have a lot of bills and the rent bill and electricity and all that. So I'm making some assumptions here. If you're in a different situation where you have a lot less bills, and maybe you would be a little bit better off in this particular context. But that's pretty much why we do it. We want to kind of be prosperous and abundant and have more money and be able to do things that we want to do and meet our responsibilities. Hopefully we want to meet our responsibilities. Okay, so, but the good part is that if you were to look at every specific, mystical and magical tradition, there is some type of approach to enhancing wealth and abundance. So I'm going to go through, I guess, some of my favorites. So one, you could create a financial servitor. And if you're interested about how to set up a servitor, I have a video in my video list that you can kind of look up. So what would that particular servitor look like? So, you're going to be designing and empowering a servitor, a self-created being that works on improving your finances. And now you have to be very specific in what you want it to do, of course. That goes without saying. So if you were a salesman, you want to increase your sales, you can program your servitor to increase your sales. It's going to go out and do its thing behind the scenes in order to help create the right conditions for that to happen. So it could be increasing sales. It could be, again, finding good deals on things that you want to buy, cars, houses, stuff like that, so you can kind of save a good bit of money. It can work that way. Just a whole bunch of different ways. It's the sky's the limit. You're only limited by your imagination as far as the application of these types of things. Also, remember to be specific again about what you want it to do. I use a financial servitor in order to increase my book sales for my book, and I think I've mentioned my book on my videos several times. But when I do it and I regularly feed it and I do what I'm supposed to do, I will see kind of a steady increase in my book sales. And what my servitor does is, one of the principles that it uses in order to feed itself is not only what I feed it, but if you think about it, we're always expending energy. So when someone buys one of my books, my servitor can actually, that energy that's released from that mental activity, or you can consider the physical activity of hitting the buttons on Amazon, can actually take that energy that's released and use it to power itself. So you can actually do some of creative things like that if you want to get into the nuts and bolts of how do I feed my my little personal assistant, my spiritual personal assistant, as servitor is. So that would be one thing. Next, Hoodoo. So if in the tradition of Hoodoo, you can use Saint Expedite, and again, I have a video on Saint Expedite. I really like working with him, but Saint Expedite would be really good for emergency magic, but it doesn't have to be an emergency. That just seems to be his MOS, is his specialty. So you can use Saint Expedite and be sure that you petition him, and if you want to make it fancy, you can write your petition on parchment, put it under a candle. You can buy specific candles for Saint Expedite. You can buy oils to kind of dress the candles with. You can kind of make it elaborate. And again, when you're doing rituals, use your creativity. If you wanted to simply do a one-time trial, one-time deal, you can take the parchment. And also, if you like holy water, you can actually get some holy water from, possibly a church, and dab the corners of the parchment. But what I was saying is that if you want to make it a one-time deal, you can actually go and burn the parchment as a kind of a psychological mechanism of releasing that intention. Just be sure that whenever you're done with your petition to Saint Expedite, that you give some type of offering. He tends to like desserts. Specifically, the tradition talks about pound cake. I know in New Orleans they use Sara Lee, so look for pound cake and kind of give that as kind of a reward. Saint Expedite, a good being to work with. Next is the Goetic magic. So who would you work with that? That would be, you appeal to Bune. I think he's the 26th spirit of the Goetia, the Lesser Key of Solomon. He has a reputation of making people wise, eloquent, and granting riches. And I've had some experiences with Bune where not only did somebody give me money, but since she was the vehicle of the money, it was almost like the influence worked with her, where she got a windfall somehow, some way. So he has means of working in very kind of interesting and convoluted ways, but he'll come through. And again, with these Goetic spirits, there is no guarantee that they will work with you. However, if you have a sincere heart and you have a strong desire, then it is likely, and you're being authentic, that they'll work with you. So that's another thing to kind of think about. He's also good for making you aware of opportunities to increase your money. So if you were interested in, let's say, becoming to make money off of YouTube with advertisers, he might whisper in your ear, so to speak, specific training to go to in order to learn how to specifically do that quickly. So other times he might say, hey, this would be a good stock to invest. Again, another financial opportunity. So that's Bune. The next one would be if you want to work planetary magic. So a lot of times when we talk about planetary magic, we're talking about, of course, Jupiter. I've done some work with Jupiter before myself. Jupiter would be for expanse, for increase, to if you have a certain amount of money and you want to make more than that particular, he would be the one to go to, because he's the the god of increase. So find out the correspondences and get the green candles and all of that, and do your working. Also, this is something that you're going to want to do, is from my experience, that you also want in that same ritual to work with Mercury. So they're part of the same pantheon, but with Mercury, governs the intellect, quickness, movement. There's some metaphysics, some rules and laws regarding money. One of which is you don't want it to. If it's staying still, you're going to lose it. You don't want anything to stagnate. So that is why you have Mercury, because you may need Mercury for the swiftness. If you need money quickly, messenger god. You also would want that movement. As far as the stagnation is concerned, the best way I can describe it is that if you are too much of a saver, that could work against you. Because usually when people are holding on too tight to the money, there is some programming, there is some scarcity, there is some doubt, and you have to get that fine balance, because that can actually overturn and sabotage your efforts of increase. So you need a little bit of both. So that's why I'm kind of describing this. So Jupiter and Mercury. So anyway, I hope that those four spirits, would be something that you would want to work with. I'm going to, by request, on my Facebook page, I got some comments that maybe I should start leaving some links to some books, so that people, my viewers, my audience, can go and explore more and learn more about some of these things in my videos. So I'm going to start doing that. So I'm going to put a couple books in my description, some links. If you're interested in checking it out, fine. Otherwise, that's fine too. And just as a reminder, I'm on Patreon, so if you want to go there and discover some new material, come check it out. Again, thank you for watching. I hope you have a good day and a good weekend.